We need some theme tune music now, don't we?
Yeah, I think when I do my talks, when I've got the screensaver up at the top, it's got the date, name and everything else, I think I have a very, very low volume 2001 A Space Odyssey, because I just thought it'd go well with the kind of theme. Yeah, so, yeah.
I will advance, I'll get mics at one point. I'll wash back them. Okay, so we're back. So Peter, have you ever seen anything you can't explain?
Yes, I have. I've got a, yeah. Let me give you a funny one first that has been explained. I've got a friend lives over in Pett.
That I can't believe.
Yeah, I know, it's unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, you do want to be friends with
exactly.
me, eh? Yeah, I've got this, let's start again. I've got this imaginary friend. No, yeah, I've got a friend lives out in Pett, and I won't lie, it's pitch black at night. Yeah, there's no light pollution at all. And obviously I've been out there thousands of times, but I remember pulling up one night, it's pitch black, I have to park on his land. He's got quite a big house, and it's quite a strut from where I park up to his house, up this tiny little country lane. No, I'd love to say it was. Middle of nowhere, massive dark little country lane, and I got out of my car, locked the car, and I looked up, and there was 7, looked like stars with lights, went over in perfect formation.
That's what we saw.
Perfectly spaced apart. Found out what it is since. It is a satellite. But it was perfectly in formation, and I won't lie, I absolutely pantsed it. I was like, what the hell is that? Knowing full well that it's not the International Space Station, it's clearly not man-made, it's not a meteor, it was perfect formation, dead silent. And I won't lie, I didn't run, because I've got my pride, but I reckon I could have done the old Olympic walking quicker than anyone that night. I've got my phone. I did for a couple of seconds, and then I'm looking around at my, like, I'm surrounded by woods, I'm in darkness, and I'm like, no, I think I want to get indoors now. I got up to my mate's house and got indoors quicker than I've ever got from my car inside someone's house. It frightened the life out of me, and I've since found out now that it is actually a satellite and it's man-made, which part of me is quite disappointed about now.
So am I now.
And then the one that has stuck, which I haven't explained, when I was about 10, I believe I was still sharing a bedroom with my younger brother then, before my dad done some work in there. But yeah, effectively, I woke up one night and there was a man standing at the end of my bed, and I, to this day, don't know who he is, who he was or anything, never spoke, never done any facial expressions, just standing there, and it frightened the life out of me. And obviously I shouted, I would imagine, everything else. And I remember my dad, this is my stepdad, obviously my biological dad died, great man, he's passed away since. But he came in the bedroom, obviously trying to calm me down, and walked straight through him. And played around with the curtains and tried convincing me, because we had a street lamp outside, we had these heavy navy blue curtains, see, I can remember it all distinctly, and he's going, no, it's just a light from outside, and this bloody man still standing there. And obviously, if my dad couldn't see him, I couldn't convince him that there was someone standing there, and then he walked back through him again and left the room, and as I recall, I just got under my blankets, that's how long ago it was, and hid. But I've never known who it was or anything or what they wanted, but I could see it as I can see you. Because normally everything's spiritual is intuitive. The only other time I was at my mum's and I was in the armchair, and it was in the daytime, and I nodded off. Obviously I hadn't gone fully to sleep, I was just at that point where you nod off, and then I woke up like that, and there was an old lady's face right there, just literally as I can see you, just looking at me, and I've just looked at her, and she's just looked at me and went, well, I am listening, my dear, and that's all she said. And I won't say what I said, but I swore, and I was like,
how old was she?
I was a grown man. This is only about 15 years ago, I should think. And frightened the life out of me. I was like, what the wow. Yeah, and she was there. And I've not been able to explain either. And I'm sure there's other things, but those two really stick in my head. And obviously these lights for a while did as well. Until I found out that they're actually man-made, and lots of people have seen them since.
No, I'm still gonna think that I saw actual.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? But they were silent, that's for sure. No noise.
Well.
Yeah, and they just went over in perfect line. Yeah, same spacing. I've only recently found out, and now I found out lots of people have seen them, and they're actually a man-made satellite. Not quite sure how or what it was, but on the night it frightened the bleeding life out of me. And yes, I reckon I tore up some tarmac going up this little lane. Never said anything to my mate. When he answered the door, I was like, "Hey, Bass, beer," and I was in there. Yeah, Maybe you ought to shut the door, mate. Could you?
Lock it.
Lock it, yeah.
So you talk about the fact that there have been giants in the past. I've read that in the book. Can you explain why you may think that way?
Again, it's the common denominator thing and the correlation between all the stories. You've got entries in the Bible with like there were giants in the earth in those days. I've read all sorts of things. You go back to America, that's probably a good place to go because their history's so short. You go back like 120 years ago, you know, they were only just coming out of the Wild West, frontier lands, all this stuff. And in them days, everything was so far apart because we hadn't invented the cars and the aeroplanes that we've got now, that you had towns that are very isolated. Well, in those days, they still had the local newspaper that would report everything. And basically, your doctor was the governor of the town in them days. Anything they didn't understand went to the doctor. And then those newspaper clippings and bits and pieces still exist. You can still go and see them if you want to have a look and find them. And they've literally got pictures in them of people twice the size of us. Skeletons that were unearthed that were twice the size of us. I think it's Lovelock Lake. Probably got that wrong, so I do apologise. It's been a while since I spoke about it, where they discovered things. There was caves where they discovered these huge skeletons with 2 rows of teeth and 6 fingers and this, that and the other. And it's all been hidden up and taken away.
Why?
Probably because it clashes with religion and everything else that we're taught. I mean, give you an example, you know, go with Darwin's theory. We now know there's been probably about 6 or 7 different races of human beings on this planet walked alongside of us. Denisovians were the last ones found, and they reckon they were walking alongside us about 15,000 years ago, which is nothing in the history of everything. It's a blink of an eye. And this is DNA level, so they look slightly different from us. You've got things like the, what are they called? Sorry, my brain's freezing now. Pygmy race. Average height of the pygmies is about 4 foot. That's a lot smaller than you and me. And then you've got, you know, what's to say that there weren't a being twice the size of me? It's not unheard of. And then you've got people like Abraham Lincoln, that when he went and visited Niagara Falls when he was president, you know, he had a large audience there, he was doing a public address, and he goes, the eyes of those giants in the hills of America have looked on Niagara as I do now. It ain't an omission, I don't know what is. You know, so there's a lot of common denominators that would point to the fact that there was perhaps a race here once. Giant's just a word we made up, and it kind of, because it's used in fictional books, it probably looks a bit sort of like fairies and all that. There's nothing to say there weren't a race that was twice the size of us. And then you've got Goliath, which is probably the most famous story of all. Now, as far as we know, with 2 cubits and everything else that they measured him by, he was either 6'9" or 9'9". Now, the average height of a human being back in his day was 5'3". Now, luck would have it, one of my best friends who I work with every day, 6'9", and he's 23 stone. He's a monster of a man by comparison to me, who's 5'8". He's extraordinarily strong. I mean, if he goes like that to me, I mean, I fall over like I do it to a 5-year-old, and there's nothing I can do about it. He's an incredibly powerful human being, and he's 6'9". Can you imagine back in the day when everyone was 5'3", how big that would be? To say nothing of someone that was 9'9", that would be enormous. They've got the recorded history of the size of his spear, the weight of his armour. Now, the tallest human being who had this giantism thing was Robert Wadlow, and he was just shy of 9 foot, 8'11" 3/4". Biggest human being we've ever had on recorded history. There was no way he was carrying Goliath's shield or anything else, because he died at 22 from a little scratch on his foot, or I think it was a blister he got on his foot that got infected. By the stage of 22, he had leg braces and everything else, because we're just not meant to be that big. So, to me, when you read about the story of Goliath, it was clear that he wasn't a human being that just got big. He was something else completely different. My friend, oddly enough, he got tested for giantism when he was at school because he just grew so quickly. They were worried that he needed to have this op, the pituitary gland, I think it is. But yeah, when you look at all the common denominators again and all the stories through history, if you go to Norse mythology, you had the frost giants. Nearly every culture on this planet makes reference to beings a lot bigger than we are. In my belief, I can believe that. The most recent one, which I haven't looked at this fully yet, and I should do. This was Afghanistan, in the war in Afghanistan, so this is quite recent. There was some troops went missing, some American troops were sent out to find them, and they got to this cave, and while they're hovering around outside this cave, a giant came out of this cave that was about 13 foot high, red haired, carrying a spear, killed a couple of them, and they reckon they had to fire a hell of a lot of shells and rounds into him to put him down, way more than what you would a normal human being, and he was taken away. And this was all kept quiet and hush, hush, hush. But a couple of three of these soldiers have come forward now, and they have got a published book about the incident. And they're saying, yeah, they're in the caves of Afghanistan. They're still out there, which is extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. Even I'm like, wow, that's.
Why isn't that got out there more?
Probably a bit like ufology for years. It's amazing what a good threat will do.
Yeah.
You know, pilots. It's only recently that pilots are coming forward, because the moment any commercial airline pilot said I saw something, they take their wings away, and you're grounded. It's a controlling thing. But so, and I'm not saying for a second that if maybe someone has seen a giant or someone bigger than us, that it happens as often as maybe something in the sky. But on this particular one, when I read about it, I was like, that's interesting. Why would these soldiers come up with this? You know, soldiers aren't prone to flights of fancy. No. They're hard trained men that know they're hard. Yeah. They don't need to go flights of fancy to say that I'm a tough guy. Why would they do something like that? Is it, again, and that goes back to the ufology thing with John Lennon and Muhammad Ali and people like that. You're like, why would they need to make stories up? You know, they're pretty famous already. Yeah. You know, and they're jeopardising that fame. So obviously they were passionate about what they saw.
So you're saying that with giants, because I think, okay, that's not beyond the realms of belief, but what you're saying is they wasn't necessarily human.
Yeah, it's a different race, and I've come to that conclusion now. Now we know that there was different races of human beings. You know, Neanderthal man, we know Neanderthal man existed, and they're different from us on DNA level. Now we can check all of that. It's like, well, they're not the same as us. It's a different race of human being. But they've now found others as well as Neanderthal man. So we are Homo sapien, that's us. Now you've got Neanderthal man, and you've got the Denisovians, which again they've only recently found in the last 30 years, and they know that they walked alongside of us about 15,000 years ago. But they reckon there's about 6 or 7 different races now.
But with Neanderthal, isn't that just purely, they have heavy bodies and things like that? What other differences were there to them, to us?
Different jawlines, different all sorts of things. They weren't as brainy as what we are.
But surely that's just generic. It's, you know.
No, our structure is pretty much the same right across the board. Neanderthal is completely different. Denisovian is completely different. Yeah, there's a reason why we outlived them all and we become the dominant one. Because any dominant species normally extincts the non-dominant ones. But you go back far enough, there is so many stories about beings of different sizes. The Nephilim, that was one race of giants, and they were enormous. I mean, they talk about where did they go? I'm not going to say this because I'll probably get it all wrong, and it's religious, so I'm not going to say it. But it was some people sent in, I think it's into Israel, and they said these beings were so big that we would be like grasshoppers to them. And then the sons of them, and as they went down over the years, got smaller and smaller and smaller, and they believed that Goliath and his brothers, by the way, King Og, and people like that, were descendants of the Nephilim. They weren't as big as the Nephilim, but they were a hell of a lot bigger than we are. You know, and other curiosities. I mean, have you ever heard of Angus MacAskill?
Rings a bell.
He was Scottish, and he was around in the 1800s. And he's the biggest non-pathological person there's ever been. Now, when I say that, most people that exceed 7 foot have got this pituitary gland problem, and they all end up like in a bad way, sadly. I mean, Richard Kiel, who played Jaws in James Bond, he ended up on a mobility scooter, half blind, and everything, because you're simply not meant to get that big, so all the organs struggle. Well, Angus MacAskill was 7'9". He's got the broadest shoulders ever recorded. He's got the biggest hands ever recorded, the biggest chest measurement ever recorded as someone who wasn't obese. And he didn't have the pituitary gland problem. He was naturally 7'9". That's absolutely enormous when I think he's a foot taller than my mate. And he was huge, and he went on P.T. Abraham Circus around the world, and he performed in front of Queen Victoria in Windsor Castle, and she went on record as saying he's the biggest, stoutest man that's ever walked into Windsor Castle. And he used to carry this anchor as his little bit of his act. Apparently it was about 2,000 pounds, and some of the records that he's got, that it was although it was a long time ago, it was close enough in our history that we did keep reasonably good records. and he's by far the biggest, strongest human being that's ever lived. If you actually read up about him, and he's enormous. You know, his chest, everything about him, his hands are like bloody shovels.
Yeah.
But he didn't have the pituitary gland problem. He was naturally big and strong, and I've always looked at him and thought, I wonder if he's carrying the blood of the old giants that were naturally that big. They didn't have a medical condition. They didn't end up weak. And this guy was nearly 8 foot tall, and he was carrying barrels under his arm that we couldn't get off the floor. And apparently he used to walk down the docks carrying 2 of them under each arm. And it's interesting things like that I look at and go, you know, just a thought. Maybe think about it this way.
Yeah.
You know, that we know. And I think I put it in this book actually, this fine book here. When I was writing about it, I said, effectively, this planet years ago looked like Lord of the Rings, with all the different types of species on it.
Yeah.
And then you wonder where these people got their inspiration from. Danny.
Behave.
So there you go. Go on.
This one did fascinate me because I'd never heard of half these structures that you talk about. So I was sitting there with my phone checking them out on the internet, and then I thought, yeah, he's not wrong on that. So explain some of the curiosities of your curiosities with ancient structures.
Again, you have to look at these things and go, wow, how did that happen? I think the most obvious one is the pyramids. Now, I've got to tell you straight off the bat, they've been studied for about 100 years by people, lots of different people with far more intelligence than I've had, and nobody, even today, has come up with conclusive proof of how they were built. No one. Bearing in mind that the Great Pyramid, I believe, has got 2.2 million blocks in it. That's a lot of blocks. And they all weigh about 3 to 4 tons. It's got granite blocks inside it that weigh about 80 tons. It's perfectly aligned geometrically with stars and all sorts of bits and pieces. And no one yet has worked out how we done it. Where they were quarried from. How did they get them there? How did we get them up that high? And that's just one of many structural anomalies around the world.
I love the H block one.
H blocks, yeah, in Puma Punka. I mean, they're extraordinary. And again, I've watched lots of programs on them. And again, no one knows what they're about, why they were even put there, what their purpose was. You've got it's in India. What's it called? It begins with K. Calisius Temple, and that was built out of stone. So you've got those huge, from the top down. And it would have had to have moved between 200 and 400,000 tons of stone out. The crazy part about it is it's got so much detail in it, absolute perfection, this huge temple. There wasn't one mistake made, not one. Someone with a hammer and chisel going, damn, I need to glue that back together. It's absolute perfection. We couldn't do it now. If we're actually honest with ourselves, who the hell built it and with what technologies were they using? Again, H blocks in Puma Punka, they've got holes in them. They're perfect. Now, if we'd done it today, we'd use a diamond tip drill. We didn't have that then. We've got perfect cuts and right angles. We'd use a laser. Well, they weren't invented till 1960. Who built it and how?
Yeah, but surely wouldn't that have been witnessed by humans or whatever?
Possibly, or was it predated humans? I mean, the Sphinx for a start. Now, the Sphinx is always interesting because many years ago we thought it got built alongside the pyramids. It clearly wasn't. I mean, it's got the body of the lion and the head of a pharaoh. But the head is half the size of the body. It's too small. So they say clearly at some stage it was a lion. And it obviously got worn out. So they
wasn't that deliberate?
Why would you make a head on a bloody lion half the size? And why would you put a Sphinx's head on it? But the most interesting part of it is all of the decay on it was rain. It's been caused by rain. And they said it hasn't rained in that part of the world for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, to say nothing of the thousands and thousands of years of rain it would take to wash away stone. So they're like, it's clearly a lot older than the pyramids, as in probably predates us.
Yeah. It's
another structural anomaly. Size. I wrote about the trilithium stones. Sorry if my brain's frozen where they are, but people can Google. Now they weigh anywhere between 750 and 900 tons a piece, and they're built into a wall. Now, the biggest stone that we've moved in the modern era is called levitated mass. It's outside a museum in LA. It weighs 350 tons, and if you look at how they moved that from the quarry, it was 100 miles away, the quarry. They had to take lampposts down. This lorry was like longer than Hailsham High Street. the logistical nightmare. It moved at 5 mile an hour. This thing, to get it over there, 350 tons. Try lifting stones. Some of them are 3 times the size and weight. How did they move them? And the bloke who owns the quarry where it come from, he's openly gone on record and said, "I've got no idea how they did that back then."
But so because I often talk to people about your book, and in particular this subject, and someone said to me they did prove recently how one of those were made, and it was by maybe it was Stonehenge, I don't know, but about how many people it would take to move one of those stones, but it has been done.
Yeah, Stonehenge maybe it's a lot smaller than the pyramids, but no one. And for every argument you'll get of someone doing that, you'll find that there's someone else just as clever going, "No, that won't work."
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same with the old ramps on the pyramid, with like pulling them up on the road. Yeah, that works at the top if the ramp started 5 mile away, because it would have to be such a gradient. Like I say to people, right, and we've done this ourselves because I wanted to prove it as well. When we order out like materials, get a ton bag of sand, you can only get a certain amount of people round it before you can't actually touch the bag. So say we wanted to lift that up, I can only get 8 or 9 people round it at best. You know, once you're 4 deep, that bloke at the back's no good to you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not enough to lift it. So you times that by a dozen or so, you know, you literally need thousands of people. I mean, the biggest dump truck we've got in the world at the moment, it's like twice the size of a 2-bedroom house. It is the biggest earth moving, whatever you want to put in it, truck there is going. It can carry 400 tons. That's half, not even, you know, less than half of one of them trilithium stones. And this thing is enormous. And you're like, that's now. With all our technology, that's what we can do. So don't tell me that was done by hand.
So what you're suggesting did happen?
Who knows? Technologies that we haven't uncovered yet.
Theories.
Well, way I look at it at the moment, if I was to say my theories are, it was either an off-world race that came here with technologies that we haven't even got yet, or it's the footprint of technologies that we had in the past that got lost. That maybe we've reached the zenith of this kind of technology before and lost it. Now there is also proof, it's a talk for another day, that there's already been a nuclear war on this planet. Maybe we wiped ourselves out already and we're on an endless circle, we're on a loop. And everything like structural anomalies and all the things that are going on around the world that we're now surfing now and going, how, are just the leftover bits. They're the footprints of what's happened before. It's a good one to look at, the Caesar glass. It's a talk for another day, that one.
Caesar glass.
Yeah. Got glass. They're finding like in the deserts, gems and jewels made out of glass and Caesar glass. The only way you can do that is heat it up, and the only way we know that we can heat that up to that kind of temperatures to cause these Caesar glass is a meteor strike, which would lead to a crater, which there isn't, or a nuclear bomb. And they're finding them all over the world. Oppenheimer, who was the inventor of the nuclear bomb, when he was asked about how he feels about it, he said, "Well, I'm not the first." So he knew. This is all played out before. Deserts, for one thing, we're always told that that's a naturally forming thing. Why? Why have we got these vast areas that are just sand and nothing grows on it? It's contaminated. That's why. You know, we've got other hot areas in the world, like Florida. There's plenty of grass out there. You know, why have we got deserts? Because that land is contaminated. Now, if you look in the Mother Harata, which is...
I couldn't even spell it, so it out.
Mother Harata, that's basically, I think it's a Hebrew religion, and they've got their books and everything. They talk about flying Verminas and the alien war that took place. And it all took place right where them damn deserts are. So, you know, there's so many footprints and things in our past that we don't know about. Or we do know about, but it's been kind of swept to one side, and that's what you'll be told. This is, you know, what we'll be taught in school. Which effectively, when you look at school, I find that a load of nonsense as well. That's just brainwashing. You go to school, you have to put your hand up to speak. You have to ask for everything. That to me, that's not education. That's an agenda to get everyone to come out of school so you're in line of what society wants from you. You'll go to work and then you'll die. These are just all talks for another day, but the Caesar glass are very interesting, and the structural anomalies, etc. But yeah, sorry, went off on a tangent there.
No, it's very interesting. So tell me more about the talks that you currently have available.
Right, I've got, as I spoke about earlier on, Are We Alone, which is part 1, which again starts with our place in the universe. It goes on to touch a little bit about structural anomalies, people who've come forward with these things, some of the reported things, food fighters in the Second World War, Travis Walton, that's probably the most compelling abduction case has ever been, with, as far as I'm concerned, almost 100% proof that it happened. All sorts of things, and that's an interesting talk. Part 2 goes into it more deeply, things with NASA that's gone on, other space administrations around the world, a bit more deep with other contacting things that have happened and other cases. It wasn't enough that I could do a talk and get it all in one without making it cluttered.
Yeah.
So that's part 2. I've got a talk about technological boom, how that came about and how we moved so quickly as what we did. I've just done a talk actually recently. I've got one about the modern world as well, where I see us going wrong and what we're getting right, which is quite interesting. But I've just put one in recently, which isn't really along the lines of any of this, but it is as well. And it's called Did We Go to the Moon? And a lot of people will probably, I haven't got a booking on it yet, but a lot of people will book it up thinking I'm just going to dismiss it all and debunk it all. I'm not. I'm putting my evidence forward for both sides. And like all my talks, just let people draw their own conclusions at the end. I've got my opinions on whether we went there or not, and believe it or not, I think we did. Based on what I've read up on, and not just listening to someone on a sofa going, nah, we didn't go there. Yeah. But I put my case forward for both sides of the arguments when I do the talking again. You know, all my talks aren't me trying to do what they do in school, which is brainwash you and break. I just present. I open the first talk up, and the first thing I say is, I'm here today to present to you what I consider overwhelming evidence that would suggest we're not alone in the universe. How you come away from this is up to you. 9 times out of 10, they're all coming up to me going, blimey, didn't know that. Yeah, you've got me. But I'm not there to go, no, I'm right, and bang my hand on the table. It's just, I believe this suggests that we're not alone. And that's like all my talks. And I will give them what I found, what I think, my view on it all, having probably looked at it a little bit deeper than the next person. Sure. And then you take away from it what you want. I mean, I've got to be honest, there's going to be people out there that, you know, it wouldn't matter if I brought ET into the room. They would still say no, you know. And that's their prerogative. It scares some people. And I get all of that. You know, and I'm just trying to make it an interesting talk as well. And you know, when you're doing a talk, you can tell how it's going. You can see by the audience reaction, and I like it when I've got them hooked, and they're like, yeah, this is, they're interested in this. We're going with it. So yeah, effectively.
Interesting. So I wrote a question after this. And do you think the modern technology has improved our lives?
No. Not all of it. Some of it has. Yeah, but let's go with that. I like my car. I mean, it's chucking down with rain and I've got a heater and the wipers on and I'm sitting in a very comfy seat. I'm like, this is nice. I'm not having to walk in the rain like they used to have to. And certainly not on a motorbike like I used to have to. Those sort of things. I like television the way it is. Well, I've got thousands of options and it's instant. You know, microwaves, those sort of things, yeah, they have improved our life. Or have they made it go so quick that we're just chasing our tails?
Yeah.
But there are certain bits I think no. And again, I think I touched a little bit on this in my book about, giving for an example, emails. I think they're bloody awful. And I use them, but they're awful.
Yeah.
To give you an example, I'm a builder by trade, so that's my skill set.
You haven't mentioned that before.
Not. But that's my skill set, and you think, I'm having to spend half an hour of my 24-hour day with everything I've got to do these days, looking at emails and responding to them. That ain't improved my life. That's just giving me something else I've got to fit in every day. And people, you know, I won't say who, but I know people in the next generation below me that haven't experienced life about them that go, look at what was it like beforehand? And they honestly think it was the dark ages. And I'm like, no.
Better ages.
It was a lot better, and it wasn't that much different. I think the difference being is, we've forgotten how to make decisions on our own. So we're forever sending emails around, covering our arse to make sure we're not to blame, check everything, and we're just bogged down with it now. Absolutely bogged down with it. One of the early jobs I had in my career, I worked on what was British Rail, and I was on the P-Way, which is like length gangs, maintenance gangs. And in them days, you had a section manager over a vast area. I think ours went from Rye to Tunbridge, through Hastings, etc., etc. And you had these length gangs. And I was quite good at my job. I got rapid promotions to leading trackman and track chargeman quite quick. So I had a team up at Robertsbridge by the time I was 26. I believe actually I was the youngest track chargeman there's ever been. But I had this team. And on a Thursday afternoon, me and the other 2 track chargemen from Ryan Hastings would meet with the section manager, and we'd basically go over what we've done. We had a different section manager that would give us our work and da-da-da. But once that meeting was over and I went back to the gang, that was it. I made all decisions. How we went about that work and what we did on a daily basis and who did what and who was a lookout man was my decision. I had autonomy to make that decision. That's why they promoted me into that position, to make those decisions, and it worked well. I guarantee you, in the modern world now, it's not there anymore because British Rail don't exist. But if we were still working in that same format, I'd spend half the day sitting at a damn desk responding to nonsense, answering questions, telling them how I'm doing it and when I'm doing it and what's going on. Because that's how and it's not improved anything. It's just clogged everything up. And as for these damn things,
I was going to say that.
Oh God, I think the worst thing I see is parents, I won't say mums or dads, but parents walking down the road, they've got a dog here, they've got a 5-year-old here, they've got a pram in their hand, and they're walking along playing with their phone. And the times I've seen them nearly walk into the road, and you just think, really? Whatever's going on your phone is so important that you can't walk your child to school and talk to them on the way, or not nearly push your baby out into the road. It's terrible. Or driving. I mean, I drive in the rush hour most days. You wouldn't believe what I see. I mean, not just making a phone call, literally texting as they're driving along at 60 mile an hour. When you're like, mate, why don't you just get a book out and read it? You know? And they think it won't happen to them. And I think it's probably close to my heart because my father-in-law was killed by an idiot on their phone. So it's always going to be close to my heart when I see people not looking where they're going, playing with their damn phones. It's madness. And I believe, I'm going to be on my bandstand now, they won't stop it until they make texting and driving with your phone as socially unacceptable as drink driving. If you see someone drink driving, you report it straight away. That bloke's just got his car, pissed his hand car, walked out the pub. It's socially unacceptable now, and we all feel that way. And you'll lose your licence for 3 years and you'll get a massive fine. Until they do that with phones, people are going to go for it and get away with it. If I tell you now, if they turn around and went, okay, if you're caught texting on your phone now, you lose your licence for 3 years and you'll get £1,000 fine, people will cut it out straight away because it won't take long for them to know someone who got caught. Oh yeah, ain't worth doing it. And it amazes me. This day and age with the technology, why? Just put your earpiece in and ring them.
Yeah, but they've now, because you've seen on the news, they were showing that they now follow you around in lorries, the police, so they can look down on you to see what you're doing in the car. But I did follow a woman along Bexhill Road once, and as she was driving, she was doing her full makeup and her hair, and every time she picked up a utensil, I beat my horn, and she kept thinking, what's she on? But
if you pick someone up on it, you're the wanker. You know, you get all the hand gestures and everything else at you, and you're like, no mate, you're not watching where you're going. I follow vans like along the Marsh Road, the Link Road in Hastings. They're doing this. All over the road. And I'm over on them like, well, you're either pissed as handcar, you're not fit to drive, or you're texting. And it's so dangerous. And you're like, and they're probably nice people. They're just idiots that don't see
too much of a rush.
Everyone's rushing about.
You need to get it all done.
Because they need to get home and do their emails, that's why. You know, and you just think that in certain areas it's clogged life up completely. And I just think, do you know what, wouldn't that be really nice? Because I'm not addicted to it. I use these things, but I'm not addicted to it. I thought, turn the damn lot off for a month. So everyone just has to go, whoa, how did we used to do this? And have to go back to it.
Miss those days.
I do. Yeah, I really do. And it annoys me sometimes because I get texts at like 10 o'clock at night. My phone's bleeping and I'm like, I'm going to bed. You know, leave me alone for a minute, you know, and we're all guilty of it. I do it.
Totally.
But so certain areas I think, no, it hasn't improved everything. And we have definitely lost our ability to make a decision on our own. Because these emails are just, they're going all over. Get hundreds of them.
Oh, spam.
Nightmare. And even the proper ones, you think, well, you can answer that yourself. You know, just get on with it.
Not allowed to. Anyway, that's been first I'm looking at the time because I know that you've got things to do as well. And I'm pleased for the time that we've spent together. It's been really enjoyable.
Good.
We'll do it again. But right, this is evidence. I brought a copy of this book, but I haven't got it with me. So Peter said he brought this along for me. So I'm going to get him to write me a bit at the front about it. And give it to me because I'm just going to bag him one. I might give him a bag of sweets from the shop for it.
Oh, fantastic.
And we will also make a date that Peter will do a question and answers session here at Tippy Doodars in High Street in the future, and book signing. So as Peter said, you can get this book most places. I think I bought mine at eBay, but now I've got a second edition that's not.
I think the most popular sellers in England are obviously Amazon. And Waterstones.
Okay.
But you just have to go on their website. You won't find it on the shelf, but if you go on their websites, you can order it, print to order, one at a time, or wherever many you want, 10, or download it for Kindles, etc. But yeah.
Well, we have our next author lined up for December, and she is a local author who wrote a children's book, and she's also a medium, and I've been to her, and she's absolutely brilliant. But in the meantime, Peter, thank you very much for your time and for all you've got to say. It has given us a lot to think about, and hopefully you'll all go out and buy a copy and come along for when Peter does question and answers and book signings. And we'll leave you today, and thank you very much.
Pleasure.
You sign.
Thank you.
Our